Here.
Dion Jones.
Here.
Janice Lewis.
Here.
Kimberly Remack. Diane Singer.
Here.
Donnie Singh.
Here.
Steve Stratton.
Here. Okay, you've received in your packet the minutes of the August 13, 2024 meeting. Are there any corrections or additions needed to the minutes? If not, do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve.
We have a motion by Ms. Singer to approve the minutes. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Stratton. Any other discussion on the minutes? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Then the motion carries and is unanimous. Our first order of business tonight is we do have one item on the consent agenda, which is an item that's considered routine and non-controversial in nature that does not warrant a full staff presentation or board discussion. So I will read the consent agenda, and if you wish to have a full anyone wishes to have a full presentation, we will do so. If not, we will vote on it directly as it is. It's an application to extend the time to record a previously approved final plat, Lot 1, Funderburk of PUD Area 5, submitted by Shane King, Houston Engineering, on behalf of Church Craft Road Express LLC property owner. The subject 2 plus or minus acre property is owned in PUD Planned Unit Development and is located on the northeast corner of Craft Road and Church Road. And the recommendation is a 1-year extension. Do we have anyone wish to have a full presentation on this item? If not, do we have a motion that we approve the consent agenda item?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Jones to approve the item. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Ms. Singer. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the consent agenda is approved. And our old business is an application to amend the project text for the preserve at Cedar Bluff PUD submitted by Henry Porter, W.H. Porter Consultants, PLLC, on behalf of Jeffrey King, Meridian Premier Homes. The request is to reduce the minimum heated square footage of the 66 townhome units in Area 2 from 2,000 square feet to 1,800 square feet. The 6.55 plus or minus acre subject property is on R3 Planned Residential Development, PD, and is located northeast of the intersection of Chatelain and French Fort Drives. We'll now have the staff presentation.
Yes, sir. This is an application, as you just noted, and there's really only one small area that's changing in the PUD project text, and it proposes to reduce the minimum heated square foot requirement for the 66 townhome units that are located over on the eastern side of the Preserve at Cedar Bluff project from 2,000 living square feet or heated square feet to 1,800 square feet. And you may recall that this item was tabled by the Planning Commission at your August 13th meeting, and specifically what you had asked the developer to provide to you is shown on the screen. You had asked for plans for the amenities that he was proposing to add. And the gist, I think, of the argument and the discussion at the last meeting by the applicant was that he was seeking to reduce the square footage, the living square footage of the units to make them a little bit more marketable, and he was going to add amenities back into the project. So what he was going to do is to try to deliver those units to people for purchase at a slightly lower cost, but by adding amenities, he would be adding to their HOA dues. And so he was stating it would basically be somewhat of a wash, and with some back and forth with the Planning Commission, you had asked him to provide these plans, again showing a dog park facility on the northern part of the property, and in the central part of the property between the townhouse units, a couple of pickleball courts. And so we also added on to that, based upon some of the concerns that the Planning Commission had expressed at the last meeting. This would be added to your conditions that to ensure construction in a timely manner. The amenities depicted in the exhibit shall be substantially completed prior to a certificate of occupancy being issued for any unit in the third townhouse building. So that would allow them to get started with the first couple of townhouse buildings at 8 units, but at that point, those 2 amenities would need to be done. I can briefly go through some of the history of the project. I hit on this at the last meeting. This PUD and master plan was originally approved back in July of 2020. The total property size, 41 acres, and the entitlement that was granted when that PD was approved back in 2020 was to do 116 housing units. It included 50 single-family homes on the west side of the project, and then the 66 townhomes. And the area that we're talking about specifically amending is called Area 2, and that's the townhouse portion of the project. And that is in distinction to the single-family part that's on public streets. This townhouse portion of the project's behind gates, and these are private drives behind those gates. So that in and of itself makes those HOA dues a little bit higher for the people that have to also pay to maintain their roads back behind those private streets. We had subdivision plats for both of the single-family phases that were approved back in 22 and 23, and you can see it's more than halfway built with homes on this most recent aerial. The area in green is the one that was most recently approved back in 2023. We did have the first phase for the townhouse part of the project, 32 lots, that was approved, it was approved and then recorded at the beginning of 2023 on March 6th of 23. And one point that I want to make is these townhouses are the same as single-family lots in so much that you can have a fee simple purchase of a unit. And I made this point at our last meeting, but we always hear this term thrown around, 0 lot line, you know, when there's quarter-acre lots or subdivision with half-acre lots sometimes in front of you, people are calling it 0 lot line. That is not 0 lot line. This is actually an example of what 0 lot line means. And you can see the outlines of these buildings with the black boxes, and you can see how the green lines would be the property lines, and those run through the shared wall of the building. So each one of these townhouse buildings has 4 units in it. We did approve a preliminary plat for the second townhouse phase back also in early 2023, and you can see the infrastructure for that phase is not yet constructed. A couple things that I did want to hit on. What's unchanged between what was proposed back in 2020 or what was approved back in 2020 are the floor plans you see on the left side of your screen, and what's proposed are the smaller floor plans that are shown on the right-hand side of the screen. What's unchanged is the width of the units. Again, those lot lines that are already platted are 25 feet in width. They're a little bit wider on the end of those 4 to allow for setbacks between buildings, but basically the width of these townhome units is 25 feet, which it was originally proposed back in 2020 and it remains in the 2024 plans. You can still see the units still have a 2-car garage. There's a requirement in the PD project text that they be 75% brick, and the basic floor plan has not changed. They're both 3-bedroom, 2.5 baths with a bonus room, and they have some bonus room or flex space that's over top of the garage. If you look at what's changed, probably most of that square footage reduction came out of that second story. The bonus room's a little bit smaller, the 2 bedrooms up there are a little smaller, but basically the first floor is pretty much unchanged. Now, one change, as you can see, that has a staggered front. The ones approved back in 2020 flat. This one's staggered. It can give a little bit of extra room for parking in the driveway for the 2 units in the center that are pushed back a little bit, so it gives a little more room in the driveway so cars can park there without blocking the sidewalk. You could argue that maybe it would look a little bit better from the private drive view to have those staggered fronts versus the flat fronts. These are fairly large buildings. And one point I did note on the floor plans is that they do have higher ceilings. What was proposed back in 2020 had a 9-foot on the first floor, 8 foot on the second, and these show 10.4 on the ground floor and 9 foot on the second level. If you were to approve this, the justification could be that the plan better meets the market demand. You again have that lower purchase price that can help offset the higher homeowners association dues due to the gates and private streets, the amenities that were really the reason that this was delayed from last month, and common green spaces to maintain. We do, as stated in our comprehensive plan, have policies in there that we want to diversify the city's housing options. These townhouses are important. We don't really have any in Olive Branch, and this is viewed as a way to provide multifamily without doing apartment complexes, because this provides a path for ownership, and they're larger than apartments would be. And so this is considered to be a medium density project, again, a preferred alternative versus large apartment complexes. And then we have the abutting homes that are immediately to the south of the project site or in the Chateau Ridge development, and those are all about 1,000 to 1,500 square feet of living areas. So these townhouse units, even at 1,800 reduced, would be still larger than the single-family homes that are immediately abutting the project. This is the same recommended motion of approval that I gave you last time. Did add in a couple things that we are adding amenities that are deemed to be desirable to the project, and then the provision in the recommended motion to approve that would make sure the construction of the amenities was done by the time a certificate of occupancy was issued for any unit in the third townhouse building. Still provided on your screen the alternative motion to deny. You could make a determination that if you looked over to the Oakwood Estates subdivision that's located about a quarter mile over to the west, those are larger homes, so you could deem that this is incompatible or would not improve compatibility in the neighborhood by providing smaller townhome units here, and you could determine that there's not necessarily a compelling public need to make those units smaller. So that concludes the staff presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I see Mr. King is here tonight as well.
Any questions of staff?
Just one question. On the requirement for the construction of the amenities, what's the reason that we're allowing 2 buildings to be built prior to that? Just
Well, that's up to you all. You could determine that you could only do one. I mean, I thought, just talk to Mr. King
Sure.
about that. It was my
Sure.
suggestion, so it allows them to at least get started
Sure.
with the buildings. They have a couple that are, I think, already formed up out there, and so he's obviously got his plans for the amenities. So I think his intent is, from what Mr. King told me, his intent is he wants it to be done as soon as possible.
Any other questions? All right, no further questions. Then, Mr. King, do you wish to come forward and represent the application?
Just here to answer any questions.
If you will, please come forward and just state your name and address for the record there.
Jeffrey King, 9186 Highway 4 West in Tobia.
yeah, basically the same question. Is there a particular reason why you want to get the 2 buildings built before you add the amenities in?
Well, we currently have the loans to start 3, and so we can get started right away, which we'd like to. The amenities are a new option that I don't know whether I'll have approval yet, so it's going to take a little while to get those going. I'm not sure that I'll have them done by the time I finish the first 3, but it'll be pretty close. So the next round of units will obviously be 6-8 months down the road. So I just didn't want to have 3 units done and then not be able to sell them until if I'm waiting on a fence guy to finish something up or whatever. But the intent is to get it done as quickly as possible. I mean, those amenities are what's going to sell it all and what's going to.
Did you have any updates to the HOA about the leasing or anything like that? Did you guys make any amendments to the HOA in as far as leasing or anything like that goes?
I do not know.
Any other questions?
What, the third townhouse building, how many units is this? third?
Each townhouse building is 4 units.
4.
And you build them all at once. You can't like build one, so it's
So
kinda
you'll be
like-
at 12?
Yeah,
12
it'll be
houses.
12
Okay,
units will be
townhomes.
built.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? No further questions, then, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, we'll open it for public discussion. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak in favor or against this application? If not, then public discussion is closed, and I will open up for any discussion among the commissioners or any motions that need to be made.
Based on the finding that, one, the proposed amendment does not adversely affect the character of the area because the downsized townhome units appear to be indistinguishable from the slightly larger ones originally planned, and they are larger than the abutting homes to the south. And two, that a public need is being met by facilitating the development of a medium-density housing option promoted in the city's comprehensive plan and currently lacking in the local marketplace, and that adding amenities is deemed to be desirable. Approve and recommend the Board of Aldermen approve the project text amendment to reduce the minimum heated square footage of the 66 townhomes units in Area 2 from 2,000 square feet to 1,800 square feet. And to ensure the construction in a timely manner, the amenities depicted in Exhibit 1 shall be substantially completed prior to a certificate of occupancy being issued for any unit in the third townhouse building. That's my motion.
Okay. We have a motion by Mr. Jones to approve the reduction of the square footage from 2,000 square feet to 1,800 square feet, and also have the amenities added in Exhibit 1 to be completed by the completion of the third townhome. Did I have that correct? Okay, do we have a second to that?
Second.
Have a second by Mr. Stratton. Any other discussion? If there's no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And then it's carried unanimously. It's been approved. All right, under new business, and we're going to take, there are two separate applications, but the presentation will combine them together, and then we will vote on each application separately, but I will read application number 1 and application number 2. The first one is an application to vacate a .86 plus or minus acre portion of Lot 3B College Station subdivision, second edition, submitted by Bob Farley, Farley Surveying, on behalf of property owner Magnolia Properties, LP. If vacated, the .86 plus or minus acre area is proposed to be added to Lot 1 of the Food Rights subdivision to allow for the expansion of Piggly Wiggly. The subject property is zoned C3 General Commercial District and is located on the south side of College Street, just west of Highway 305, known as 8989 College Street. The second is an application for the first revision of the Food Right one-lot subdivision submitted by Bob Farley, Farley Surveying, on behalf of the property owner BLR1 LLC. The request is to add the .86 plus or minus acre area previously vacated portion of Lot 3B College Station and increase the lot size to 3.71 plus or minus acres to allow for the expansion of Piggly Wiggly. The subject property is zoned C2 Highway Commercial District and is located at the southwest corner of Highway 305 and College Street, known as 6459 Highway 305. We'll now have the staff presentation.
Yes, sir. A few brief comments. And the reason that we have to do this in two separate agenda items is because there's two separate subdivisions. If this was all part of the same subdivision and it was just moving a lot line or expanding it into an area that was unplatted, it could all be done as part of a single subdivision. But because you have, or single item, I should say, but because you have two subdivisions, you have to vacate part of one before adding it to the part of another. And that's based upon rules from our Chancery clerk at the county and what they need to do to make sure that their records are intact as far as properties. The .6 acre area is currently part of a 1.375 acre Lot 3B of the College Station subdivision, and the boundaries of that lot are following what I'm doing on the cursor. That subdivision was actually recorded on March 16th of 2010, and that lot is currently improved with this small 1,500 square foot office building that was built back in 2022. And you can see the boundaries of the .86 acre portion of that lot that is to be vacated in yellow. And then what you see in the red line is the proposed Piggly Wiggly lot. Right now it is right here, and the Piggly Wiggly lot is currently 2.85 acres. It's lot 1 of the food rights subdivision that was recorded back in 1991. And so the revised lot, when you add that .6 acres to it, would be 3.71 acres in size. In this slide, I included this in your packets. This shows you a conceptual plan of what Piggly Wiggly is proposing to do. The area that's shown in the tan color is the part that is proposed to be remodeled. I believe the aisle widths are very narrow in there, and so part of what they want to do is bump the building out a little bit along this area to the west, and then expand some of those aisle widths in there. So the part that you see in the colored area is to be remodeled, and then this would be the expansion area. Now, when you do that, there creates quite a need for more parking. So most of that area that they're expanding onto, that .86 acres, is taken up by the parking. And then you can see with the parking plan here that they've added in a lot of landscape islands, which is a requirement that we have now. So I think in the post-development condition, it will be definitely an improved site. And they've done a few things in here to also improve circulation. So they'll get a lot closer to meeting the parking requirement, landscaping requirements, and improve the interior of the store by this. So we have 2 recommended motions that are on the screen. Number 1 would just be to approve the application to vacate that .86 acre portion of Lot 3B of the College Station subdivision, second edition. And then the second motion would be to approve the application for the first revision of the food right 1 lot subdivision to add that .86 acres to make it 3.71 acres, subject to those 4 minor comments that are noted. And that concludes the staff presentation. I believe Mr. Farley's here as well, who could answer any questions.
Any questions of staff? If not, Mr. Farley, do you wish to represent the applications?
Bob Farley, 235 West Chulahoma Avenue, Holly Springs, Mississippi. Ooh, I like the
Anyone have any questions? No questions, then pretty
I like
quick.
this.
Thank you, sir. All right. All right, I'll now open for public discussion. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak in favor or against this application? If not, then public discussion is closed. And we'll now open for any discussion or motions from the commissioners. We'll take them one item at a time. The number 1 motion is to approve the application to vacate a .86 plus or minus acre portion of Lot 3 College Station subdivision, second edition. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the application to vacate 0.86 plus or minus acre portion of Lot 3B College Station subdivision, second edition.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Jones to approve the application number 1. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Singh. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Then the motion carries and is item number 1 is approved. The second motion is to approve the application for the first revision of the food right 1 lot subdivision to add the .86 acres previous vacated portion to Lot 3B College Station, which would increase the lot size to 3.71 plus or minus acres. Do we have a motion to on this one?
I make a motion to approve subject to conditions 1 through 4.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Singer to approve motion number 2, subject to the staff conditions. Do we have a second on that one?
Second.
We have a second by Ms. Lewis. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion number 2 carries and is approved. Thank you. Okay, under new business, item number 3 is the application for a zoning map amendment submitted by Jared Darby, Brown Properties, on behalf of property owner Mary Vasquez. The request is rezone the 2.03 plus or minus acres from AR Agricultural Residential District to C2 Highway Commercial District. The subject property is located on the west side of Craft Road North, approximately 300 feet south of Bluebird Lane, known as 7705 Craft Road North.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, to bring us where we are here with this application to rezone this AR property to C2 Highway Commercial. This is directly north of 302 and Craft intersection, south of 78 Bluebird Lane. This is the Bluebird convenience store, the fire department here, AR property. This is Little Southern Dreamers as the daycare that's there. They do a good business. I've seen many cars there in the morning times dropping children off. You may have saw them. Again, this is along Craft Road, a collector road throughout the city. It runs north and south. Staff has prepared 2 recommendations: approval based on the finding that the character of the property has become commercial. There may be a public need for the redevelopment of the property. Craft Road is a collector road. Alternatively, deny the request because it does not align with the Comprehensive Plan 2040 map that designates the property as suburban residential. The speculated uses within the C2 district may not be compatible with the adjoining single-family homes, and rezoning to C2 would compound strip commercial development along Craft Road. Just looking at the property here as it's currently, the property is 2.03 acres, as the chairman pointed out. It is unplatted. The property owner would need to submit a separate application to plat the property into a 1-lot subdivision. As I mentioned, there's a child care facility there, and rezoning the property as C2 will permit all uses by right within the C2 zoning district. That site may be suitable for and at an intensity that the site could support. Conditional uses would be available within this district if permitted by the Board of Zoning Adjustment. So we can look at the surrounding uses as it sits now. We do have this C2 district here along the east side of Craft Road, currently single-family residential homes. Again, more single-family residential homes here down to Bluegrass Road, Dewberry Cove, a small farming operation here, more homes here within the Hamilton Circle North, more farming activities, and then along Bluebird Lane, we've got residential, and then back up to a church, a fire department, and then the convenience store. As staff looked at the area, it does seem to us that on the west side of Craft, that the convenience store and fire department does draw a line with the C2 zoning, and that it becomes more residential as you head south. So as I just pointed out, further on northwest on Bluebird Lane, on the same side of the street as the subject property, is a lot zone C2 that adjoins a C2 district. This is it, what I'm talking about here. It's a hard corner occupied by a gas station, but then further to the southeast on the same side of the street as the property, we've got R4 planned development. So this zoning this property sandwiches this commercial district right in between more residential and the hard corner with the convenience store. But as we looked at the analysis, we have a few criteria here to review. The original zoning classification for the property was a mistake. Again, the applicant would claim that there is no mistake made with the current or original zoning of the property. Our staff finding that the current zoning of the subject property is AR, that's agricultural residential. The surrounding properties to the west and south are also zoned AR, thus the subject property being zoned AR is consistent with surrounding western and southern parcels. So we do agree with the applicant that there was no mistake made in the zoning. I've got 20, if you'll notice the cursor here, this is 2024, and number 2 is the character of the area has changed to such an extent to justify proposed rezoning. So if we were in a plane flying over, we would take a look at this in 2024, but we could back up 10 years ago to 2023, and there's not much difference. The difference would be the gas station has went in, the single-family homes have stayed here on the eastern side, and again, the southern part of this property and along Hamilton Circle North is mostly residential, with that farming operation going on just south of the subject property. So if the proposed zoning classification does not conform to the city's general development plan, the applicant shall be required to offer proof with regard to what major economic, zoning, physical, or social changes, if any, have occurred within the vicinity of the property in question, which were not anticipated by the general development plan, which have altered the basic character of the area to make the amendment appropriate. So I did give you a supplement handout. That handout is general information. And I just want to bring your attention here to, I believe it's going to be your page 1 of 12. If you could find that, that is retail market potential, drive distance band 0 to 0.05 mile radius. That's going to be in this circle right here we're looking at, and you can notice a graph that is provided on the very first page. One reason I did not put this in your packet to be mailed out is I noticed that it said that these homes in this area, median household income is $82,000. And so I thought it was a little bit deceiving just off of the bat with what was provided. Another part is, as I started to read this supplement that was provided, the data was based on propensities, and they're based on national products. This was just something that could be printed off. It was applied to a national standard. It wasn't just applied to knocking on doors and doing a random survey. So as far as the character of the area has changed, staff did not find that the character of the area had changed. However, the character of the area has changed to such an extent to justify the proposed rezoning. The applicant did mention the expansion of Craft Road to a 5-lane collector road. I did happen to put that on here so that you could take a look at that. We could see that in our slide before. We've got a 2-lane road on 2013, and in 2014 we've got a 5-lane collector. However, it doesn't change the fact that the property has not changed in an extent to justify a rezoning just looking at the road being widened. The change in land use character from rural residential to predominantly commercial uses justify a rezoning. However, it could be contended that these land uses and changes have been limited to the parcels at the Bluebird Lane and Craft Road intersections and have not spread further south along Craft Road. A public need for the rezoning is number 3. The applicant claims that the provided drive distance analyzes and demonstrates a community's need for commercial and retail infrastructure. The exhibits were provided by the applicant to illustrate a more in-depth review of the market potential for the subject property. That is your handout that I did give you, and again, I wanted to point out those a couple of nuances that I saw about the paperwork, and that it did not actually fit the property, and that the median household income was not appropriate. Our staff finding is having commercial uses along Craft Road could provide additional convenient commercial services to nearby residential areas. The requested C2 zoning would be misaligned with the designation. It would further inject an isolated C2 zoned property surrounded by AR zoned lots used for single-family residential housing west of Craft Road North. It is notable that no public comments were received. Notices were sent out to owners of the property within 500 foot of the subject property. That's required by the City of Olive Branch's zoning ordinance. At the time of the report, staff has not received any opposition or comments from the general public. So we have two motions. The first motion would be in favor upon finding that the rezoning criteria have been met, namely the land use character of the area has become increasingly more commercial and that there is a public need. Approve the zoning map amendment to rezone the 2.03 acres located on the west side of Craft Road North, approximately 300 feet south of Bluebird Lane, known as 7705 Craft Road North, from AR agricultural residential to C2 highway commercial. Our alternative would be to deny the request because it does not align with the 2040 comprehensive plan that designates the property for suburban residential land use, and the C2 district is not very compatible with the adjoining single-family homes, and the rezoning to C2 would compound strip commercial development along Craft Road. That is the extent of my report.
Thank you so much. Anyone have any questions of staff? If not, do we have someone here to represent the application? If you'll please come forward.
Good evening, Jared R.B. Brown Properties. How are y'all? I want to appreciate, thanks staff. You guys have a great planning staff. I appreciate them walking through this application. I will say that I do disagree with the planner on the economic zoning, physical and social changes in that particular corridor. I've provided ample amounts of data for the Planning Commission to consider on those four positions. For instance, the zoning issue, C2 is right across the street. At any moment, they could submit a design application for a commercial business. C2 is to the north of that subject property. So I do want to consider, for the Planning Commission to consider that, it is not a standalone island of C2. In addition, it's operated for 15 plus years as a daycare center without complaint or comment. In fact, if I may kind of step in a Wayback Machine, I'm pretty sure that when I was here, I did that application for the conditional use back when I was employed with the City of Olive Branch. Physically, we can see the changes through the aerial photographs, right? Was a 2-lane road, now it's a 5-lane collector. I appreciate staff trying to limit their aerial photographs to just the scope that was presented in their presentation, but it's greater than that. Economically, Olive Branch continues to offer a kind environment to commercial needs for its citizens. The Craft Road I-22 interchange is no different as commercial and light industrial continue to develop in and around that area. I presented the market retail index. It's my understanding that you only received that this evening. I also want to disagree with my colleague as well on the data that was presented. This is the type of software and data that's used by Chick-fil-A. It's a national recognized software that gets their data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics as well as the American Survey. This is a tried and true program, and it shows that there is a market potential for retail in the area. I'm sorry that you didn't get that in earlier submittal. Also with the social aspects, let me see. Our client has served the community of Olive Branch, as I mentioned before, 15 years, no issues, no complaints. It is essentially commercial now, operating under a conditional use permit. And our client wants the opportunity to explore additional growth opportunities as this corridor has also changed over the past 10 to 15 years. I certainly appreciate the opportunity to speak on this item and would be happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions?
Yeah, I have one, Jared. Is there a reason that you guys specifically chose C2 instead of like C1 or like a neighborhood commercial?
To match the surrounding zoning that's already in place.
Would you consider down zoning into C1 instead of the C2?
I think C2 is our request.
Question, you made mention about the staff's presentation of an aerial photo. Is this the aerial photo that you submitted?
I submitted 8 aerial photographs, given the history of the development of the corridor. That may have been one of mine to show the subject property.
Right, and then the,
Yeah, those are the market retail indexes.
okay. That's all I had.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So obviously in our land use map, our future land use map, it's not marked as commercial, and neither are some of the properties across the street. Do you have any comments on that, or?
Well, given that the property is located right next to a 5-lane collector street, as staff had alluded to, the fact that it would remain a residential property would probably not be in the future cards for that particular property.
So basically what you're saying is any property that abuts a 5-lane street should be zoned C2 commercial?
That's how it's defined in your C2 zoning ordinance. However, not every property. There should be a cutoff. There should be a desire to keep the residential character of the neighborhood. But in this particular case, it does abut north and to the east.
Could staff put up the aerial photo? There's a property in between the fire station and 7725. What is 7725 currently zoned? Right. So we would be jumping a property to rezone this based on this aerial photograph. Is that what you're requesting? Us
Yes, sir.
Jump 7725. Okay. That's all I had.
Any other questions? No further questions, and thank you so much. Appreciate it. We'll now open it for public discussion, public hearing. Anyone here wish to speak in favor or against this application? If not, then the public hearing is closed. Does staff wish to make any other comments before we have a discussion?
No, sir, I have none.
I will now open it for any discussion with the commissioners, either discussion and or motions or recommendations.
I'll make a motion to deny the request because it does not align with the Comprehensive Plan 2040 future land use map that designates the property for suburban residential land use. C2 district is not very compatible with adjoining single-family homes, and the rezoning to C2 would compound strip commercial development along Craft Road.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Singh to deny this request because it does not align with the Comprehensive Plan 2040 future land use map. Do we have a second on that?
Second.
We have a second by Ms. Lewis. Any further discussion? All those in favor of denying this motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So this motion has been denied. We have an application for a final plat for Watson Estates submitted by Joe Frank Lauderdale Engineering on behalf of property owners Bridgeport Properties, Inc. The request is to create a 4-lot residential lot totaling 19.93 plus or minus acres. The subject property is zoned AR Agriculture Residential, located on the east side of Pleasant Hill Road, south of Bridgeforth Road and just north of Bean Patch Creek.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the proposed Watson Estates. Again, Pleasant Hill Road up to College Road. Bridgeforth Road, here's an intersection of Pleasant Hill. Coming south, you start down the hill. The entire lot was wooded. It appears that there has been some cleaning underneath the TVA power lines here for the driveways. It was unplatted up to this application. It remains so the property is located in the southern area, annexed into the corporate limits of the city in 2021. Future extension of utility lines to service a development on any lot once the city has extended utilities into that area following the last annexation plan of services or changes there too will be responsible the property owner. The preliminary plat meets, or the final plat meets the requirements of the zoning ordinance and complies with the subdivision regulations, and staff recommends approval subject to multiple conditions. The all suggested lots, as we looked at last time, meet the minimum requirement of 1 acre with a 50-foot front yard setback and a 15-foot side yard setback and a 50-foot rear yard setback. Mr. Lauderdale is proposing to create a drive off of Pleasant Hill. He has provided us a easement document from the TVA allowing the driveways to go in, and the TVA has updated, or we've received that from Mr. Lauderdale and added it to the paper file. The driveways would come off of Pleasant Hill Road and split off into Lot 1 and Lot 3, and this other split would be Lot 2 and Lot 4. Mr. Lauderdale and Mr. Bridgeforth have agreed to the first 150 foot of pavement, and then it would be the responsibility of the property owners to continue the pavement once the homes are built. The next steps would be for the Planning Commission to approve the final plat for Watson Estates and recommend the same to the mayor and Board of Aldermen, subject to the following conditions. We'll share with you the number 3, all shared private ingress and egress easement areas which shall be no less than 150 feet from Pleasant Hill Road must be paved before the final inspection of the 4th house in the subdivision. The rest of them are generally within the, and this does say preliminary plat. The rest of the conditions are in general in nature, and that's the end of staff's presentation.
Any questions of staff? I see Mr. Lauderdale here. Do you wish to represent the application?
Joe Lauderdale, 231 West Center Street in Hernando. Yeah, we had preliminary approval back a month or so ago, and we're back with the final. I think for this final approval, we had to get a written approval from TVA to have a driveway on their easement, and that is an easement. They did not own that land, so I read their deed, and it didn't say somebody couldn't be on their property, so they emailed me that for the driveway approvals. And the reason we kind of have one entrance to the property rather than 4, it would be a whole lot safer just to have one entrance there on Pleasant Hill Road and have a common area that's paved, and then you leave there and go to each one of your lots. So I think we agree to all the stipulations on that.
Any questions of Mr. Lauderdale? No further questions, and thank you. Since this is a final plat, it does not require a public hearing, so I will now open it to the commissioners for any discussion or comments or motions.
Make a motion to approve based on staff's recommendations.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Singh to approve, subject to the staff recommendations. Do we have a second? Second. We have a second by Mr. Stratton. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? And then the motion carries and is approved. Thank you so much. All right, we go to item number 5. It's an application for a preliminary plat for Kirk Farms Phase 1 submitted by Robert Reeves on behalf of Allen Olive Branch LLC, property owner. The request is subdivide 29.04 plus or minus acres into 74 lots and 11 common open spaces. The subject property is on R3 Planned Residential District and is located on the north side of Goodman Road, just west of Creekside Drive, and there was an email that was sent by Mr. Reed to table this indefinitely. So I need a motion to approve tabling this until
I'll
further
make a
notice.
motion to table it indefinitely.
All right, we have a motion by Ms. Lewis to table this. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Singer. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And then the motion is approved to table this indefinitely. Now we're to item number 6. The application for a final plat of the W. Williams 4-lot subdivision submitted by William E. Williams, Jr. The request is to create a 4-lot residential subdivision of 9.86 plus or minus acres. The subject property is on AR Agricultural Residential District and is located on the west side of Pleasant Hill Road, approximately 1,500 feet south of Bridgeforth Road, known as 3351 and 3323 Pleasant Hill Road. So when they have staff presentation.
Mr. Chairman, Planning Commissioners, before you is a request to consider a minor final plat, minor subdivision plat for this piece of property on the west side of Pleasant Hill Road. So if you leave from City Hall, you get down to Craft, get on College. This is Pleasant Hill Road, this is Bridgeford Road. At that intersection, if you just keep going south, then this piece of property will be to your right. It's right there at the city limit in an area that was recently annexed into the city. This blue line here, for example, that is the city limit. The property currently fronts on Pleasant Hill Road North, which is a public street, so the subdivision of these lots will not require the construction of new transportation infrastructure. There is also water available, shown here in blue, those dotted blue lines. There's water line along Pleasant Hill Road, and there is gas shown there in yellow. So those infrastructure already available to this particular piece of property. It currently has 3 parcels. So you have this 3351, 3323, and these on address parcel, the larger parcel. What the applicant proposes to do is essentially to kind of redivide these to create 4 lots in this area shown in yellow. The rest of the parcel will remain, of the larger parcel will remain unplatted. So these are the 4 lots being proposed to be created. You already have 2 houses on the property. There is a house here, there is another house here, and right here is a barn. This area is zone AR agricultural residential, which permits barn as accessory buildings. You know, they can be used as principal structures on lots on their own. It would appear that there may be some intent to build a house on lot number 4. That will require the driveway will have to be fully paved for all new subdivision lots. Staff recommends approval subject to these conditions 1 to 4. Condition number 4 being that any new driveway on any of the 4 lots must be paved in its entirety. That concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Any questions to staff?
I do. I thought when there was a large unplatted and somebody was going to plat a piece of it, they had to plat all of it. Did I hear that wrong? Because
There is not a requirement under the law that if you're gonna plat a piece of a property, you must, Tennessee has that law. Mississippi does not have it. In Mississippi, you don't even have a requirement under the law to plat property. You can transfer property by deeds, just have a lawyer write you meets and bounds. So, folks can create these 1 lot, 3 lots, 4 lots, 5 lots at a time. But we kind of keep track of this. There is a point at which if you keep coming and splitting one small piece at a time, like if they were to come back and try to split the rest of this property again, we will say, no, stop. You need to do a preliminary plan and kind of show us how this large piece is going to develop in future.
Yeah.
That's really what planning is. You cannot keep going this piecemeal. Okay. So we are allowing this to move forward because it's maximum 4 lots, and under our subdivision regulations, if you're doing no more than 4 lots and you already have things like transportation infrastructure, utilities in place, then that is classified as a minor subdivision.
Okay.
If it is not minor, then it goes to major, then you have to give us a preliminary plat for the entire piece.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Any other questions? Is there someone here that wishes to represent the application?
Yes, my name's Bill Williams, and I live at 3400 Bridgeforth Road in Olive Branch.
Any questions for Mr. Williams?
One thing I might point out is some of this land was my father's, and he passed away last November. So really our objective, my brother and I are the executors of the estate. Our objective was not to create a subdivision, but to just get these particular parcels platted so that we can divvy up and get the deeds settled out. So, and our engineer explained that this was the process that you'd have to go through. So,
Okay.
Thanks for that.
Any other questions? No further questions. Thank you.
thank you.
All right. Since this is a final plat, we're not required to have a public hearing, so I will now open it for any discussions, comments, or motions by the commissioners.
I make a motion to approve with the 4 recommendations.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Jones to approve this, subject to staff conditions. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Ms. Singer. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion is carried and is approved. Thank you. Okay, do we have any other business we need to discuss tonight?
Mr. Chairman, next month I will be bringing before you the zoning code update.
Yay!
We've had the opportunity to hold some focus group discussions, so there have been some input from that perspective. I'm currently including or cleaning up the text based on the input that we got from there, and I should have something for you next month to move forward and get that project going.
Oh, good. We thank you so much for your efforts on this too. So it's been a lot of work on this. Any other business we need to discuss? Then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Ms. Singer to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Jones. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So we are now adjourned. Thank y'all.